And I think if you've been doing life long enough, you actually understand that sometimes there are really awesome seasons and it feels like you're on the mountaintop and it's really easy to praise God, and there are other times when it's actually a sacrifice of praise. But that's our prayer tonight, that we would praise God no matter what, and that no matter what else is happening on around us, that we would praise God, and that will be the sound coming off our lips, even when it hurts.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Tara.
First, I'd like to thank you for joining me and doing this for me, because I think it's important that we talk about different sides of mental illness. So today we're going to talk to you about your diagnosis, which is major depression and panic disorder. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me the definition of those two?
For me, major depression is I just can't get it together. I cannot, the things that bring me joy no longer bring me joy. I cry. I'm a huge crybaby. So I cry, I'm not happy. I stay in bed. I just stay in bed, I do nothing. And even though I know that there are things I need to do. And to panic, it's like all the air is sucked out of the room.
Okay.
Just, I can't breathe, I can't focus, I can't do anything. I'm just there.
And that's part of your depression? That's a
Yes.
side of your depression?
Yes.
Okay. And how long would you say you stay in bed when you're down like that? How long can it go on? What's a typical episode for you?
Probably 2 to 4 weeks.
Wow. Okay. Let's talk about your panic disorder. What is the definition of that for you?
All the air sucked out of the room. I just can't breathe, I can't focus. I don't know what's going on. I can't make any decisions.
Okay. What are you normally panicking about?
Everything and anything.
Okay.
But for me, it's primarily financial.
Okay.
It can be family, missing my children because they're now grown and out of the house.
Yeah.
Missing my grandson.
Mhm.
So it's a variety of things.
Yeah, I know for me, my kids are grown too, and my baby girl graduated, came back home, and now she's getting ready to move out, and I'm having some kind of anxiety about that. So I can kind of understand,
Yes.
because they're kind of like, they're our babies. So let's go back. Let's go back to when you felt like you were different. Like there was something going on with you, you just weren't sure. How far back do you remember maybe feeling that depression or feeling panic, a little bit of your panic disorder?
I was an adult before I realized about the panic and anxiety and all of that, but the depression is something I have my entire life. That's been a lifelong issue for me.
Okay. And when you, say when you were like a kid going into your teenage years, how did you handle that with your family? Like, did you ever talk about it, or did you just get through it? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Oh no, that was nothing that we ever talked about. It's such a taboo, and my mother has always had me in therapy since 7, 8, 9 years old.
So you did go to therapy?
Yeah, I've always been
Okay.
my entire life. And she said she noticed that I was different around 3, 4.
Okay.
But they said that it was no way that a child that young could be depressed or having any type of mental issues. I did not realize that I was different. I just knew it was something we didn't talk about. We didn't talk to anybody about. It wasn't talked about at home. It wasn't talked about definitely outside of home because of the taboo, and she'd be very embarrassed if people knew that not only did I have this diagnosis, but I was in a hospital. psych hospital, and that was always a very, very bad thing, and it was nothing that was ever talked about. Even though she kept me in counseling, we never talked about it.
And how did you cope with that? Not being like you only talked about it when you were in counseling. You weren't able to talk about it with your mom or your family. How did you cope with that on the inside?
I've always had a diary, so I would just cry and write in my diary and write, and that's probably why I decided to become a professional writer, is because that's the best way for me to be able to articulate myself.
Yeah, me too.
So
Yeah.
it was just something natural for me.
Okay. Yeah, me too. I write all the time. I want to ask you a question. It might be a little bit difficult, but I think it's important for us to talk about. Have you had thoughts of suicide, or have you ever tried to commit suicide? And if so, what are those thoughts for you? Or if you've tried to commit suicide, tell me about that. Tell me about that experience for you.
I have a few times tried to commit suicide, and for me, it's just to relieve the pain. I just want to stop hurting. I want the pain to go away. It's when I feel like a failure and I'm alone and depressed. But for me, because my children are grown and they have their own lives, and I come from a mother who is very open about hating the day I was born, that doesn't faze me as much as not being able to be around my family, my children, and I hate feeling like I'm a failure. And what is it that I can do that's going to, I don't know if I want to say be one of the popular kids, but to not feel so alone, because I have a lot of social anxiety.
Okay.
So I love when people invite me to stuff, but I can't always make myself go do things, and because I always say things that are maybe a little left of center, and I don't mean to. I'm kind of weird. And so and I just want the pain to end. And to me, that's the best way to make it stop. I'm not going to hurt anymore. I don't want to hurt anybody, because I know that people will be hurt. I know that people love me. I have no doubt in my mind about that, but the loneliness is really a very difficult thing for me to deal with, because I've always been alone and I've always been an outcast, and I don't know how to fit in. So, that's really hard.
And do you feel comfortable telling me what you did to try to commit suicide? Like what happened that day for you? Like what wall did you hit, and what was the way that you were gonna relieve your pain?
I know a couple of times it was the end of a relationship that did it for me, a long-term relationship, and I'm just like, I put all this time, this effort, I put all of me into this, and now you left me. And that was the thing that was like, I don't get it, I don't understand. What did I do wrong? Why am I never good enough? I'm not good enough for my mom, not good enough for my family, and now this man that I was in this long-term relationship with, and now I'm not good enough for him. Okay. And that could be a bitter pill to swallow, and no pun intended, but that's my choice, is pills, because I have a low tolerance to pain. So cutting my slice of my wrist, trying to hang myself or anything, no.
Okay,
So it's pills for me.
For you. Okay. And how old were you at your first attempt?
I I was a teenager. So I want to say probably in middle school or high school.
Did you go get help?
I had no choice.
Okay, what do you mean by you didn't have a choice?
Because once I took the, I wasn't going to,
Okay.
but once it affected me physically, it was like it affected my neurological, and I knew, okay, I have to go get help.
Okay.
So I did.
And when you went to go get help, what did that do for you? Did it bring you some peace? Did it help move you forward as far as like, you know, I don't want to do that anymore? Did you come to kind of some realization that it's all about pain?
No,
No.
not at that time. It was still probably a couple of years later,
Okay.
maybe 3-4 years later, by the time I really decided to investigate and try and find out as much information as I possibly can about my illness and how to deal with it.
Okay. Like just different things besides just taking medication?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, and really, you know, what's good for me may not be good for you, might not be good for the next person.
Mm-hmm.
So it was about being authentic for me.
Mm-hmm.
What's good for me might not be good for someone else, and you know, and that's really what I focused on.
Do you feel like, since your last attempt, do you feel like you're in a place now where you know you want to live?
For the most part, I am.
Okay.
For the most part, I am. But sometimes I relapse, and you know, when that loneliness just gets the best of me,
Mm-hmm.
I can't focus. I can't. You know, I can't always pull myself out. I try to have safety nets.
Okay, good.
I have an amazing support group. My best friend she's absolutely awesome. But I'm terrified of burning people out. So there'll be times that she won't know. And 2005 was one of those times. We were together almost every day. Almost every day. She had just gotten her house. I had just gotten my truck. And she was buying stuff that needed, you know, to be put in the back of my truck because it was big enough. And I knew I was having a problem, and I was faking it. Nobody knew. And I'll never forget September 1st, 2015. I was getting ready for work, and I knew that it was going south. I got ready for work. I was halfway to work. I did a U-turn. I took everything back home. Left my credit cards on my dresser. I went to my son's school because he was still in high school at the time. And I said, I have to go. I have to go to the hospital. He's like, Mommy, what's wrong? And I knew that if I didn't go that day, I would have been dead that night. And that would have been very him to be home with this dead woman. So I went to the hospital, and I was there for about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks. And that was a major turning point for me. It was a completely major turning point.
I just want to say,
Thank you.
I need you here. And I'm proud of you for knowing yourself enough to go get help, and, you know, take care of yourself, because that's not always easy. So let's skip that part. That was the hard part. Your diagnosis, And did you accept yourself? And how did your like your children, how do they react to your mental illness? How many children do you have, by the way?
I have two. I have a boy and a girl.
Okay.
And my daughter doesn't deal with it as well as my son does. But they just, it's who mommy is.
Okay.
So, it's just something that I've been that way their entire lives.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and have you accepted yourself?
I have.
Have you?
I have.
Tell me what accepting yourself, tell me the definition of that for you.
For me, it is accepting everything about me, flaws and all. It accepts being overweight, it accepts being middle-aged, and it accepts being mentally ill. And the fact that I can talk about it, I'm not ashamed of it because I didn't choose it, it chose me.
Absolutely.
This is not, you choose to smoke, drink, do drugs. No one ever says, I want to be crazy, I want to be mentally ill, I want to lose friends, I want to lose jobs. And I'm authentic. I don't try to be anybody I'm not anymore. I try to be everything and everybody that other people wanted me to be, no matter how miserable it made me. But being Lisa, truly Lisa, no matter how much fun, people make of me, how many, people talk about me, I don't care because it's real for me and that is what matters to me. So I can finally look in the mirror and like who I see. I hated the woman that I saw in the mirror. And you can't ever run from that person.
No, but isn't it freeing though to get to that point?
It is.
And it takes so long
Yes.
to get there. I know for me it took so
Yes.
long. I'm
Yes.
like, wow, I'm in my 40s and I'm just now getting there, but we're getting there. So
Yes.
that's the important part, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about something that brings you peace. What is your peace? Like in your treatment plan, what are certain things besides medication? Because I know with my treatment plan, I have to go outside a lot. I love nature. I love being by the water. So anytime somebody asks me to go on a cruise, I probably want to go. I love
Yes.
being near the ocean, by the ocean, and meditation and stuff like that. So for you, outside of medication, what is your peace? What brings you peace and keeps you able to manage your mental illness?
I love writing. It's very cathartic for me. I don't know what it is. It's just like, I can't do the computer unless I'm doing a book, writing a book. But if I'm writing pen, pencil to paper, it's, oh my gosh, it's like it's a release. But I love to color. I do love being out in nature as well. I'm a tree hugger.
I've heard of that before. Can you explain because I've heard of that before. So explain to me the tree hugging. What is it and what does it bring you? Because I have heard about people doing that.
I'd heard of it too.
Yeah.
And when I was in the hospital in 2015, they had this beautiful, they call it their smoking area, and even non-smokers could go outside. And when you're breathing recycled air, I'm like, I just want fresh air. And I wore flip-flops there, and I took the flip-flops off, and we were playing soccer or something, just kicking the ball back and forth. So I was in the grass, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh. And it was like, you could just feel everything. It was literally slowly, like watching an ice cube melt on a hot day. You could feel it going, just leaving my body. I mean, it was, when I say that hospitalization in 2015 was a game changer for me, it really was. And last summer, my best friend and I went to a park, and I was like, okay, there's other people out here. I'm gonna be hugging this tree, and I'm like, she's a weirdo. And I hugged this tree, and I just put my forehead on it, and I'm telling you, I had my, take my shoes and socks off, and it was like the tree absorbed the negativity. It just, because I was struggling physically, because we have health issues as well as being mentally ill. And it was like this tree just like took it all away and just replaced it with this amazing energy for me.
That's amazing, and that's what ocean air does for me. And a lot of people don't understand it, but the salt atmosphere, and actually my psychiatrist has told me I need to move somewhere where there's salt air because it's good for you.
Salt therapy is amazing. We did that a few weeks ago, and you know, we had trees and walked in the grass before we went, and I'm telling you, my entire everything, I just felt like an entirely different person.
Wow, really?
It was great. It was great.
Yeah, and that's actually a building, right? Like it's a
Yes,
business
yes,
where they have
yes,
salt therapy. Yeah,
yes.
I've been before, and it is amazing.
Yes.
So someone has thought of something to help others' anxiety and stuff, so that's great. So I want to ask, like, give you some sentences, and I want you to finish them.
Okay.
The definition of recovery to me is
Being able to sustain long periods of non-depression, being able to think clearly, being authentic, and being able to focus on the projects that I have and just do them and not be depressed and like, oh God, you know, force myself to do it.
Okay. If it wasn't for fill in the blank, I wouldn't be here today.
Ooh, that's a loaded question. I'd have to say my support system, because they love me unconditionally. They don't always understand everything. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do, and yet they still love me. They don't judge me. They don't crucify me. They don't smear it in my face like I'm a bad puppy. And for me, I never knew that was possible.
I've been there. I have abandonment issues because people would leave.
Yes.
But when you find that circle
Yes.
of people that you know for sure, even though in your bad days you say, I don't know if you do this, but I know me, it's like, no one loves me, no one cares. That's where our mind goes, unfortunately. But in my heart, I know that this circle of my support system that I have finally found that is very genuine love. Because I've had people say like, oh, I love you, you know, I'll never leave you, I'll never leave you. And when something hard hits the fan, they're out of here, right?
Yeah.
So when you finally find that support system, it is, I think, what keeps me grounded a lot, because you honestly know that these people love you and that they're going to stay with you and they're going to support you, and that is the best feeling in the world.
It is.
And it takes a while to get to those people.
It does. And then sometimes you cycle through people. And
You do, yeah. And why are you here today? Why are you doing this? What is your purpose for doing this?
Well, I'm honored to be here. But the other part of that is because this is something that's not talked about. This is such a taboo, and no one wants to talk about it. People want to talk about it behind closed doors, hush hush voices, and I hope nobody sees me. And this is something that is so desperately needed. I mean, I wrote, my first book is about my life as a mentally ill woman, but
What's the name of your book?
His Eye is on the Sparrow.
Okay.
And when I came up with the title, I didn't even think about the song. It's just a spin on my name. So, you know, it was just kind of funny. I just laughed. I was like, well, we're just gonna have to roll with it now. But it's something that we need to talk about. It's not something that needs to be shamed or ostracized about. You don't choose this life. And that's the thing, is people need to know. And I was trying to get into a program once, and this was a social worker, and she looked at me and said, "Are you sure that you're mentally ill? You're too pretty."
Really?
And I was offended.
I'm offended, and I don't even know.
I was offended. I was like, what?
Wow.
She was like, you're too pretty to be mentally ill. Are you sure that that you need this program? And I was genuinely stuck, like, what?
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think some people just sometimes don't know what to say, honestly. I know in 2008 when my last suicide attempt and I went to hospital, the social worker that came in was like, you are the best, well put together, fallen apart person I have ever seen. And I didn't know at the time whether to take that as a compliment or
Right.
to take it,
Right.
like, oh, I look pretty, I don't know. But for me, it was at the time very offensive because you're a social worker, you're supposed to be coming in to help me, but you're looking at the outside.
Exactly.
And that's the whole point of me doing this, is because people look at the outside of people. They don't understand that there's a human side, there's an inside of us that they need to also see. So my last question for you is, what do you know for sure about mental illness, and what would you like to share with everyone? What message would you like to leave? But first answer the first question. What do you know for sure about mental illness?
What I know for sure is that for me, I know that this is something I've dealt with my whole life, and I will continue to deal with my whole life. But as long as I have safety nets and support systems, I'm going to be fine. That doesn't mean I'm not going to have bad days. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to relapse. But I just take it one day at a time. And when one day at a time is too much, I take it second by second. So I've learned that I can reach out to people, such as you. And it's okay. It's okay to say that I'm not okay. It is okay to say I'm having a bad moment, or I'm having a bad week, or, I need help fighting through this. So there's no shame in that. I know suicide isn't the answer, but sometimes it feels like that's the only answer. And I know that people feel that it's selfish, and I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to be selfish. I just want the pain to stop.
Is there any other messages you would like to say?
If someone feels that they need help, you know if you need help. It's not dependent on how well put together you are, or how pretty you are, or what anyone else's idea is. If you in your heart feel, I need help, I need to be seen, I need to go to the emergency room, get help. Call someone. And if that person doesn't understand, go to the next person. Just keep calling until somebody gets it.
Right.
Reach out to somebody, until you get the help that you need.
Well, Lisa, I am very honored that you did this with me, and your transparency and your honesty. And I'm so glad you're here. I'm so proud of you and the work that you've done for yourself.
Thank you.
And I really pray that you continue to do that work, and know that I'm here for you every single day when you need me.
Thank you.
I love you.
Even when the moment comes, I'll pray.